Welcome to the Revo Report. We're inspiring faith with reason and reason with faith.
Okay, so there's a very common thing about Iran, right? Yeah, so Christians are using Iran to kind of, I think they're pumping up this idea of there's so many Muslims leaving Islam and becoming Christians. Iran is like, it's got to be put in its own basket on its own from the rest of the Muslim world, because it is, one, it's Shia, okay, fine, but also, so it's not like mainstream Sunni Islam. It's Shia. It's a different thing. But
what percentage of Islam is Shia? 10%?
I think it's 10 to 15, something like that. Yeah. Sunni is like 88 to 85 or something. So, yeah, but putting the sect aspect aside, just the reason people are leaving Islam, let's just start with leaving Islam. What they become next is another question, right? When they leave Islam, I think it's, when I talk to any Iranians I meet, they come to the West, whatever, or I watch their testimonies online, it's typically, they'll say they were raised in a Muslim family. Well, they weren't really raised in a Muslim family because their parents weren't practicing. They weren't practicing, okay? They didn't know almost anything about Islam. But because they're in a Muslim culture, they identify as Muslim. That's like somebody like myself who was raised in a New Age home. If I said, actually, when I was a kid, I had a Jewish friend, like a liberal Jewish friend, his mom asked me, I think his mom asked me, like, what's your religion? And I said Christian. I didn't even know what that meant. I didn't know anything about Jesus, okay, or the Bible. But that's like, I think, well, I guess it's that's the culture, I guess. So that would be like for them.
Right.
Well, they weren't really. So why they want to leave it is because they live under a tyrannical regime. So the experience they have associated with Islam is that. So that gives them a really bad taste in their mouth about that. They want, often what they do, they are looking for any alternative. Okay, and most of them, I don't know, I don't have the exact number. I think the problem is we don't really have the numbers, is they are becoming atheists or agnostics. And often when people are leaving Islam for, I would say, moral reasons, or they're leaving for these essentially like abuse reasons, they're less open to religion at all. So they're going to be less open to Christianity. Now, some of those people will become Christians because they experience the peace of Christ and the love of Christians and like genuine community that's not like what they experience. So of course, even from a psychological perspective, you can see why people might gravitate to that. But for me, I am not trying to persuade someone on the basis of emotion. I appeal to reason. So I don't want to trick people or like lead them into an emotional state. I just want them to consider the claims, look at the evidence, and weigh it out and make a decision.
That kind of makes sense, because when I think about, for example, Ayaan Hirsi Ali, or you think about even Apostate Prophet right now, the YouTuber, he went from Islam to atheism, and then now he said he started praying, and then he just released a video the other day saying, I went to church for the first time, and Ayaan's journey was kind of like that, right?
Yeah, I think he's considering orthodoxy from what I heard, I don't know.
Yeah, I think he went to I don't know if it was an Orthodox church or a Catholic church, but yeah, one of those.
Yeah, and Ayaan is now a Christian, I think Protestant of some kind, yeah.
So do you see it going from, that's the route? It's not necessarily going from, I'm a Muslim.
And those are like really intellectual people, and they're not like the average person who's like giving so much time to intellectually weigh out these issues.
Exactly, yeah.
And they're basically exhausting the resources of atheism, right? And finding it obviously empty. And now they're kind of forced through that search to, okay, I got to actually reconsider this that I just never really seriously considered before. So I think that's kind of the path that they're going through. But I think for many people, they just don't want anything to do with it, because what they think is that the Bible is the same as the Quran, Christianity is the same as Islam. It's all the same.
So with the likes, for example, of David Wood, he's known for, of course, converting Nabil or being a big part of that.
Sure.
And now having that close relationship with Apostate Prophet, and then now seeing Apostate Prophet kind of go over as well. Some people would look at his kind of strategy and kind of bluntness and be like, okay, well, I guess it's working because it worked with Nabil. It's working with Apostate Prophet. What are you seeing online that's different from, let's say, your approach then? Or what are you seeing, might be some of the flaws in a more aggressive approach, maybe?
Yeah, okay, so I'm mindful that there's different audiences watching, right? So the way that a Muslim will think of someone like David Wood, the way that a Christian will think of David Wood, who's just like who is watching videos and isn't actually talking to Muslims. Okay, look, I don't respect David Wood. His approach, I think, is very bad in many ways, and I need to talk about that. But many Christians love the content. What I will say is what someone like him and many others online are producing is very entertaining. So people like watching. The question I have, I only care about is actually reaching people, right? And now when I say only, I'm obviously with the caveat, using the truth, using sound argumentation, okay, and showing respect, okay? That is an essential part also of how we're supposed to do it as Christians, okay? So with gentleness and respect, which I don't see. So that's a huge issue. I don't agree because it's not biblical what they're doing. They're doing it with mockery, and they try to justify the mockery because they see some extreme example of a prophet. I'm like, you are not a prophet, even if you call yourself AP. I mean, I don't want to pick on him because basically he's been an atheist. So, you know, he's doing what he's doing, okay? But for people who are claiming to be Christians and doing it in outrageous things, that, you know, if you change anything, you change the religion, or like anybody would think, or if you were the one to do it, you would never do it, okay? I wouldn't invite him to come. If I'm going to visit a mosque with Christians, I would not let him come. He wouldn't be on my team, okay? No, I mean, like, there needs to be public apologies by minimum, and I would say even that's not enough because, you know, to physically tear up the Quran, to eat pages, I don't know if you know all the things that he does.
I've never seen those ones.
These are things that he does a lot.
I saw the toilet paper one recently with the murder of, you know, probably familiar with the one who was burning the Quran. I forget his name now.
Was it Sweden? Or?
Yeah, it was in Sweden.
Yeah. So, and like burning the Quran, okay, I don't know about that guy. I don't know what he is. Probably an atheist, okay? But again, it's like, one, what is the point? Okay, so people like that, they're thinking free speech. Okay, free speech, fine. I'm concerned about the gospel. I'm not concerned primarily about free speech. Free speech is an issue, politically, fine. You want to fight that issue, but keep it separate from preaching the gospel. So the way that I'm going to defend free speech is not the same way I'm going to defend the gospel and articulate the gospel. So let's not conflate the two things. For sure, free speech is very important. I would say it is a biblical right, but that's not mix the messages, okay? Because what you might do to defend free speech might not be the same. And I'm not saying that you should do those things. I think there are indecent acts too, and indecency is not protected by a proper understanding of freedom of speech. So what was your original question with David Wood?
I have a follow-up question to that,
go
because
ahead.
What would you say then to someone, I think it was on Ruslan's podcast where he was interviewed David Wood, where he said, well, the reason why I do it in that manner is because it's effective. And it actually, you know, they like it when you challenge them. And I can tell you're very passionate about this, right? Because there's a way that you've been kind of evangelizing. And
the reason I'm passionate is I've actually met Muslims who have come back to Islam because of David Wood.
Oh, wow.
Okay?